In a previous video, we looked at how to take a form and use Power Automate to send out confirmation email messages. We're going to take that, build on that, and what we're going to do is we're going to take that information that is collected in the form and automatically populate a list stored in SharePoint called a Microsoft list. Now, in order to do this, you must be an owner or an editor level that allows you to go and create these lists in SharePoint, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I've created this form here. We understand how to create a form, so I'm not going to do that, go over that. But there's our different fields that we want to collect for this sign up page. Now in SharePoint, what you can do is go at the top here and from the home and click on create a list. When you create that list, it basically gives you like a spreadsheet that you're going to be working with. So I'm just going to create a blank list here real quickly, and I'll put in submissions, and just so you can see what it looks like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add columns for each of those pieces of information that we want that are reflected here in our fields of our form. So we need to make sure there's a place to dump that information here. So you have to create all the columns. As you create the columns, do not create the choice lists like drop-down lists and stuff like that, because that does not populate. They probably are going to either be a text list or an expanded text list, or sorry, text field. Okay, so we've got our pieces here. I actually have under my site contents is where I find that. I already have a list here. I'm just going to pull it up at the bottom here real quick, called Workshop Speaker Submission. So I've already created this list and put some information in, but there you can see all the different columns. So let's look at Power Automate. We're going to go down and we're going to make sure that you hit the create button, and then you're going to look at automated cloud flow. So this basically is something that's going to run on its own. And we're not going to bother trying to find something that exists. We'll just skip all that and go right into a blank canvas. So first thing you should do, name your flow. All right, so we're working with Microsoft Forms first. So the first thing we're going to do is search for forms here. This is basically saying, hey, what product do you want to make use of? Well, we want to make use of Microsoft Forms. So we'll go in there, and the trigger we're looking for is when a new response is submitted. Excellent. What form are we working with? Well, we'll just pick up the form that I've created already. Down here, Workshop Speaker Submission. Now the next step. Again, we're back to forms. So we're going to type that in. There's Microsoft Forms. And the action is get response details. So as something gets submitted, get that information. Again, we identify our form that we're working with. And for response ID, when you select that on the dynamic content, so content that's pulled from the form there, we're going to get the response ID. So basically kind of like the row number. All right, next step. Well, we want to take this information. We want to basically put it into SharePoint. Right, so we've got our list created there. So we're going to start by looking for SharePoint. There it is. And we're going to create an item. So I'm just going to type in the word create here so you can see options here. So with all this stuff, I can create files, I can create folders, I can create an item. The difference between the two is creating a file is create a Word document or something like that, but create an item refers to Microsoft lists. Basically, it says create a new item in SharePoint list. It basically means you want to create a new row and populate all that information. So that's what we want to choose. Make sure we find the list we're working with. So whatever your website is and whatever the name of the list is that you're working on. And again, and this is where having naming conventions is really handy, because everything is exactly the same. It's easy for me to find. So what's happened here is Microsoft has gone out and said, hey, here are all the columns that you've created in this list here. And tell me which data from the form you want to populate in here. So the title is the first one. As soon as I click on that, the dynamic content comes out. That's where we went and got all the response details. So that's all the form information. So I'm going to go in here and start populating it. So there's the name of the session. Makes sense. And I'm just going to go see if I can pull this up and go through this without having to redo this. First name. You can also use the search function there if you've got a long list of stuff that you're collecting here. And we're almost there. Submission time, which is different than speaking slot. And then we're just going to save. That should get us our information going directly into our document. So let's go ahead and test this. So I'm going to go up here. We're going to test it manually. and we'll start running a test. So when you run a test, you have to go and then submit something. So let's test this by filling this out. So while that's running, I'm going to go back here to my automation. Notice here it's done, I got check marks on all of them. So basically it's saying, hey, you know what? We have got a successful submission doing here. And I'm going to go over my list here, and there just took a little time to get here. And there is the information right there. So that's it. Now, what I can also do at this point is I can add some other automation, which we've done in the past. So I could go back here to edit. So this submits our stuff, but I can now go in and I can add an email. So we'll just do Outlook. And we'll send an email. So this could be using the dynamic content of the email from our response details down here. So that's the person. And congrats. And then we can put in whatever message we want in there. I can also add another step where I'm going to notify somebody from my team that there's a submission. So I'm going to go into Microsoft Teams. I am going to post a message. Where did it go? Post a message in a chat or a group. So we'll just select the option here of post this into a channel that we have. And I just have to identify the name of the team. So we'll just do my training brown. Come on, there we are. Go into here, find a channel within that team. So there's my list training, and then new update. And I can also, when I go to here, I'm just going to put in the word link to item. What's going to be handy about this is when this posts a message, there will be a link that will take me directly to this row here in the spreadsheet. So that gets posted in the channel. And that's it.